any sort of medium that you see online, it's just like one small fraction of one small part in time of my life, of your life, of anyone's life.
Welcome to Not in a Huff with Jackson Huff, where we interview newsmakers, storytellers, and all-around interesting people. Sit back, relax, unless you're driving, and enjoy the show. Here's Jackson.
Hello. I am Jackson Huff. This is Not in a Huff. Thanks so much for joining me. As always, really appreciate it. This week, speaking with Stacey Marie Keba. Now, Stacey is another person in the world of vertical films. I spoke with Tess Dinerstein a few months ago. It was released, I would say, about a month ago. But we talked just all about that world, the world of these kind of very dramatic short films that we see on TikTok and on Instagram Reels and that kind of thing, where the janitor is really a secret millionaire who owns the company, or, the love interest is really her professor, that kind of really just kind of cheesy, very dramatic soap opera type things, but shot for people watching on their phones. Stacey was actually in one of the vertical films with Tess. I didn't necessarily see her from that, but what I saw her from was she's in a lot of them playing a villain, which I thought would be a kind of interesting take on this world. Of course, Tess kind of plays the leading character, the one that is, getting in these romances or being taken advantage of with, business and just all that kind of stuff. She's normally the one on the cover, but Stacey's normally the one who's doing the taking advantage of. She's the one that's being mean and stealing people's journal and doing that kind of stuff. So I thought that'd be interesting just to talk about to the villain of these vertical films. And again, I don't know too much about this. I've certainly never even watched an entire vertical film all the way through. Just short clips, but these clips kind of repeat the same thing over and over, and we talk about that today, just like we talked about with Tess. But Stacey is anything but a villain in real life, a super, super nice person. We're going to talk about just how she got into the world of playing villains, whether she wants to keep doing that or whether she'd like to branch out, how she got started in film altogether. She actually was in a film that was put out by Universal in France, so not even in the world of vertical, but how she got into that. We're going to talk about the world of vertical. We're going to talk about her, budding career as an actress, what the future holds for. We're going to talk about how she's written a book based on one of the vertical films. There was a vertical film that they wanted her to kind of write an adaptation of, and we'll talk about how she did that and how everything went with that. Just a really awesome conversation. We'll also talk about kind of the state of vertical media and just some of the hard questions that we had for Tess as well, which Stacey answers with some real thought too. So awesome conversation. Really, really enjoyed my time with Stacey. If this is your first time listening, you haven't already, go follow along on Instagram, on TikTok, Not Enough Podcasts, Not Enough Jackson Huff on Facebook. Leave a 5-star rating on Apple and Spotify. Helps a ton. Leave a written review on Apple. Helps even more. But here is Stacey Marie Keba. Miss Keba, how are you?
I'm doing very well. How are you?
I'm good. Thanks for joining me. Hardest question, just introduce yourself.
Okay, well, my name is Stacey Marie Keba, and I am a film and television, I guess, vertical actress now, and I'm also a published author.
I love it. And I want to ask, I guess, it seems like actors and actresses sometimes use that middle name. What makes you do that? I feel like, if somebody is John Smith, they've got to do it just because of, like the guild card. But is there a lot of Stacey Kebas out there?
No, it's so funny. I was thinking one day, I was like, my parents gave me this middle name, and very rarely does anyone ever use their middle name. It's just there for legal purposes. And I thought, I don't know. Let me just use it, because why not? It's there. They gave me my middle name. Might as well just use it.
That's easy enough.
And then with my last name, it was my family originated from Czechoslovakia, and when my Pop-Up's family came over to Ellis Island, they chopped it. So I don't know what the full length was, but the proper pronunciation of Keba is Keba. But when my Pop-Up went to World War II, roll call kept messing up the pronunciation. So he went in as a Keba and came out as a Keba. because I got tired of correcting everyone. So half of my family, they go by Keba, and the other half goes by Keba. And my dad was one of the ones that went by Keba, so I'm a Keba.
Gotcha. And it was even longer at one point. So the name is just not at all what it used to be, it sounds like.
No, it's very Americanized, and everyone's like,
Yeah.
"That's such an interesting name. I've never heard that." So
Yeah.
no, there's not a lot of Stacey Marie Kebas out there. I think there's only just one, and it's me.
Well, there you go. Well, let's kind of talk more about you and let's kind of ask the question that I'm sure you've answered a lot of times and just how did you get started in the world of acting?
Sure. So it actually stemmed from my love of writing. When I was very little, and even not that little, I was all throughout grade school up until sixth grade, I really struggled with being dyslexic and a horrible stutter and being sent to go read Dr. Seuss into a microphone in sixth grade, which was absolutely horrifying. But I got mad at that. And so then Twilight got me into reading and writing. And then from there, I was also diagnosed with ADHD, which I found out recently those learning disabilities, dyslexia and a stutter, are very prevalent in girls with ADHD, which I didn't know. But I loved being at my desk and telling stories, but I couldn't sit still, especially as I got older with anxiety and just like I could not sit still. And then I thought, okay, well, I still want to tell stories. So if I act, I can tell stories and I can move around and release some of that energy. And I fell in love with it, even though it was very, very scary. I'm very much in exposure therapy type of girl. So if something scares me, then I know that I should probably do it within reason, within reason. But yeah, that's how I got into acting.
I love that. What was some of your first roles?
So my first actual role, well, I did a couple of like student films in Philadelphia, which is where I'm from. I'm from an hour outside of Philly. But those were college films and they never really saw the light of day. But the first actual, I would say, like start of my career, it's so funny. It was a Universal Pictures film that was released in France called Mon Heroine. And we filmed it in November 2021. And it was a really big deal because they weren't really filming anything. The permit laws were so strict because COVID was still a thing. But just by chance, I somehow convinced a manager to sign me during the pandemic. And this was the first and only audition they got me. And they sent in my headshot. They're like, yeah, we want like a very specific American girl look. You look like you fit the role. You're in New York, and let's just have you go straight to callbacks on Zoom with the director. And the callback was on Halloween at midnight my time because there was such a time difference in France. And so it was so bizarre and so lovely. But I left that audition, the Zoom room, I left and I texted my manager. She's like, I just booked that. I just know I booked it. And then she called me the next day. She's like, you booked it. And I was like, so that was my first role.
Assume you didn't have to speak French. I was about to say Spanish. I'm sure you didn't have to speak Spanish, but I assume you didn't have to speak French.
I said au revoir in a very American, bitchy, making fun of this French girl type of way. And the whole scene, it was so interesting being on set because I play stereotypical American bitch, very much along the lines of Devil Wears Prada. Two of the main leads were having a conversation in front of my character in French. And so even though I studied French from middle school through college, and I still study it on Duolingo, and so I can read and understand a lot of it, and I can say some words. I've never been good with the accent, and I don't feel confident in that, but how fast they speak was wild. And so with my cue line, I had to be like ready to go and just to blurt out my line the second that they stop talking, because it's also a comedy and it's very fast paced. And so I didn't want to leave all that air in there. And so I'm trying to listen to them really fast in French. And then like, whatever my first line was, I had to say it. And I was like, I hope they finish saying their line because I don't understand a lick of what they just said.
You said that you had to kind of play a stereotypical, maybe not super friendly person. And we're going to get to kind of that seems to be a little bit of your calling card in some of these future movies as well. But before we get to that, I want to kind of talk about, how you establish yourself in the world of vertical films. I know that that I spoke with Tess. Is it Dinerstein? Now I'm going to forget.
I think it's Dinnerstein.
I think
And
it
she
is
also
Dinerstein.
uses her middle name, Amelia, which I think is so beautiful.
Yeah, I think we had that conversation whether we were going to put that in there or not. She talked about not knowing anything about the world of vertical before she booked the first one, and then just kind of opening her eyes to it and kind of really establishing herself in there. I guess, what was your introduction to that world? I mean, what was your thoughts before that? Did you know anything about the world of vertical film?
No, I didn't. So my introduction to verticals, it was, I believe, March of 2023. So they were in the early stages of picking up steam here in the US. And at that point, they were all called mobisodes. So mobile episodes, mobisodes, as opposed to verticals or miniseries, which we now know them by. And I had just come back from the premiere of Mon Heroine in Paris a few months before, and I was getting all of these wonderful opportunities for big projects here in Hollywood and for my agent and manager. And I would still do my own self submissions on the public actor sites that I'm allowed to go on. And these mobisodes were popping up, and the big description of them were that they were these short soap operas. And I had just had a conversation with my agent of, hey, soap operas, they're not as popular as they used to be, because I grew up, my mom always watched the Soap Network and very rigid watching schedule from like noon every day to 4 p.m. She has to watch all of her shows daily. And I was like, hey, I know they're not casting as much, but if you could get me into like Mark Teschner's office, who casts a lot of them, or just any soap opera, that would be great. I did get a couple of auditions for Mark, but then I saw this and I was like, soap opera, because I wanted that experience. It had been a while since I had worked, and I just wanted to, you hear so many actors of getting their start on there. It's a great training ground. You have all of this dialogue that you have to learn every day. They're long days. It's very quick paced. And that's what I wanted in my training. And so I booked one. And what was the title? It was called My Husband Killed Me and Then I Won the Mega Ball. I believe that's what it was called. And I played a bitch in that, a socialite, like washed up high school graduate. And I thought it was so bizarre because I didn't understand. In the casting, they described it as a web series. So a mobisode is a web series. So I was thinking of the web series I was used to, which is like something you'd watch on YouTube or, filmed horizontally. And then they're like, the camera is flipped and the aspect ratio is not what I'm used to. And I was just like, what is this? And it was totally bizarre. And even though I wanted that soap opera training, it was a very small day player role. So I was grateful for it. I worked one day on it, but then I was just like, I don't know if I like these. So then I didn't apply to any for a while, which I guess maybe I missed the boat on being like a big vertical star. But then, yeah, I think the next one I auditioned for, it was a year later.
And then, you talked about in that first one that you played somebody that wasn't very friendly. How did you develop that niche a little bit of has the directors just seen you that you're good at the playing that kind of role? Or because it's kind of funny where, if you listen to Tessa's interview, she talked about how she wishes she could play meaner parts. She thinks that would be would be kind of fun, but she, kind of plays the love interest a lot of times. You've got those meaner parts. You don't seem like a mean person. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe you're going to slam the computer down after we get done and scream or something into the void. But I don't think you're a super mean person. So how have you gotten so good at playing those characters?
Okay, so two parts. One, I had played the role in the Universal film, and that was my first foray into playing a mean girl. And then I think it's like almost like typecasting, like that was the footage that I had. And so that's what casting then saw. I was like, look, I was in a Universal film, and they're like, you're a bitch. And I'm like, no, I promise I'm not. But the great thing about it is, even though I play those roles, I am not that way in real life. And that's why I keep getting rehired and recommended. And they're like, wow, like, I don't understand how. And I'm like, I don't understand it either. Also, as I mentioned with the Universal film, I went straight to callbacks after they just looked at my headshot. And so that one headshot out of all the headshots that I had gotten, I just had like this smirk on my face. And they're like, it's fun to play a mean girl. Sometimes I really hate it because I'm like, guys, I can play other roles. Like, please let me play a character that you're giving to Tess. Like, for one day, if me and Tess could just switch, that would be so fun. But I was bullied a lot in high school and middle school, and I was always bullied, and I just by the mean girls, and I was very quiet, and I loved writing stories, and so much of that and writing good dialogue is just being quiet and observing and blending in, being a wallflower, a chameleon. It was my survival instinct to like not get shoved into a locker. So I had years of watching those people. And then it's fun because then you have some really great realistic dialogue, grounded performances here in Hollywood. But then you also have projects like, I always use The Devil Wears Prada, but like you have those Freakier Friday, different things which are more fun and outlandish. And especially here in Verticals, they are over the top. And so then to be able to take it to a 10 is very fun. And it's like getting out of my shell, and it terrifies me every single time. I'm like, oh my God, I didn't know I could do that. All these people are staring at me. And it's fun.
I like that. And just, I can't help but think with something that you said that it's got to be a mild mix emotions. Obviously, it's a cool thing to be able to book a universal picture, but it had to be strange to think, oh, they saw one picture of me and said, yep, that's our mean girl. That's the bitch that we need. Like, what? That doesn't sound very nice at all. How do you feel about they looking at one picture and like, yep, this is our mean American?
It's so funny because it's like, a picture or any sort of medium that you see online, it's just like one small fraction of one small part in time of my life, of your life, of anyone's life. And so people are always just so quick. Like, you have such fraction of a second to make a decision. Is this person right for me? Am I going to watch this piece of content? Is he going to be in Guardians of the Galaxy? Or is he going to be on The Office? Like, there's so many just quick things. And I actually feel really proud of that headshot because it sent such a strong message. And casting directors, they always say, like, they have hundreds of submissions, and your thumbnail is literally so tiny. And there's maybe like 5, 6 headshots of small thumbnails, and then a huge page of actors. And so I'm very grateful that they were like, yes, but I did just get new headshots. I made quite the investment, which was literally like a full paycheck of the last vertical that I did, because I'm not making the big bucks like Tess. I'm like, all right, am I going to pay rent? Am I going to get new headshots? Am I going to pay off my credit card? Where does this go? And I was like, headshots. And I think they did a really great job. So I'm hoping casting will look at this and they're like, oh, actually, she's very sweet. We already know she's sweet, but like, yeah, her picture looks sweet. So let's bring her in for some nice, sweet, romantic lead roles, or at least a supportive best friend. Goodness gracious. Like, I don't mind playing supporting. Just give me something new. Let me be supportive for once instead of tearing a girl down.
Well, best of luck with that for sure. I want to now, if we can, let's get to our first game. Are you ready for
Yeah.
it?
Okay.
Yeah. So you listen to the one with Tess. So there's 3 games. I'm going to tell you the name of them. You'll pick your first one now. We'll play one more later on. But just from the names, do you want to play podcast realities, rapid fire, generally no follow up, or Bravo, your picture is being framed?
Bravo, your picture is being framed.
All right. That one is, this segment allows you to give your props, praise to something or someone that has affected you recently. Did the Walmart door greeter make you smile? Did that new brand of shampoo you're using change your life? Maybe your family finally accepted your strange collection of dolls. Shout out someone or something you're happy that exists and that you want to just nominate for Employee of the Month.
Oh my God, that's so nice. Okay, so nominating Eland Brifcani. He is a vertical actor. He accidentally bought two things of shampoo from Costco, and I need new shampoo, and he thought it was shampoo conditioner. It has transformed my hair, and I love it. So shout out to him.
You're actually using one of my silly examples. It's actually shampoo and a person who bought it for you.
That's so funny. I didn't know, but it was great. I've been trying new shampoo because you're supposed to switch it up every now and then. And this one, I'm just like, oh my gosh. I just want to pet, like, you know, when you like get your dog groomed and it's, or a cat, and they're like, oh,
I got you. What was the person's name again?
Eland Brifcani.
All right. Well, bravo to you. Your picture's in the mail being framed there. I like it. Let's kind of talk about, given that you've definitely worked in both spaces, and it's weird to me to say, you've worked in horizontal films and in vertical films, but I mean, what makes them different? I know you already talked about how, the vertical are very fast paced. It's done very quickly, but what's different about those worlds?
Well, I think for one thing is just the amount of time that with horizontal projects that you have to prepare and to make whatever strong choices you want, to really learn your dialogue, to feel comfortable and to embody the character more. You can have wonderful conversations with the director, with your scene partners in a horizontal medium because it's a much slower pace. The downside with that is with those projects, for example, the Universal film, it took a year for it to come out. And then it took another, I think it was like 4 months to go on to DVD, and then a full another year for it to go on to Netflix in France. And so it's like 2 years. Many of the projects that I started on, as I mentioned, they were college films that have never seen the light of day. So there's a bit of a gamble of, will this project come out? How long? And with verticals, everything is very fast paced. You're not necessarily getting those great in depth conversations with the director or your scene partner. Everyone is there, sort of slightly panicked, pants on fire, running their lines and just trying to make as strong choices as they can in the moment. You have one or two takes, but at the end of the day, you know that this work will be able to come out in 1 or 2 months. So it's a lot easier to promote your work, especially on social media. I'm so bad at posting on Instagram consistently, but that's the thing is people, like, if you don't post, they'll forget about you. They'll be like, what's that other shiny thing? And so with these verticals, you can say, oh, I have a project coming out in like a month or 2 months, or I'm on set right now for this. And there's always all this stuff for you to remind people that you're an actor, as opposed to, oh, yeah, I'm filming this project and oh, I'm not allowed to talk about it for like a full year. And then people are like, oh, yeah, oh, I kind of vaguely remember you mentioning that you might have done something, but oh, is that that? Like, so they both have their benefits and their drawbacks. And so I think being able to do a mix of that is really wonderful. But the other thing is a lot of these, actually, I'm going to say all, unless I'm mistaken, all of these verticals are non-union work. And a lot of the auditions that I get from my agents and managers that tend to be filmed horizontally, they're union. And so as much as I want to say, I want to be able to build a career doing both, unless I were to become Phi Corps with the union. So it's you join the union and then you say, I just want the financial benefits, then I wouldn't be able to do non-union work. So I don't know the future, but they are both good and have their drawbacks. Just like anything in life, it's like you have to weigh which one better serves me right now.
Yeah, for sure. You talk about how those vertical films come out in just a few months, so that just lends itself to, them not taking very long to shoot. How long are you on set for these things?
Well, I've never played a lead yet. So the most amount of days that I've been on set have been 6 days. And out of like, usually it's like a 10-day window. If it's a shorter schedule, some days the leads will work 7 days. And with those, I might be on for 2, 3, maybe 4 days if I'm lucky. So last November, I did 6 days on one, which was very fun. It was called Uncle William, Please Say I Do. And I was so excited about that one because I got to push a girl and myself into a pool. And I love doing my own stunts. I think it's very fun. And so I got to do that one. And then I just booked a project that's another 6-day shoot. So I'm excited about that. But yeah, usually it's like a fraction of what the leads are.
And you went right into my next question without even meaning to, and that is these projects, these vertical projects, a lot of things, times a lot of outlandish things happen. And Tess was talking about how she brings, 3 shirts and 3 pants and 3 pairs of underwear because you don't know how many times she's going to get splashed with water or thrown into a pool or have something thrown on her. Do you, as the villain, I assume that you get a lot of stuff thrown at you, literally.
Yeah, I would say for the most part, my character is the one that's doing the throwing. So pouring iced coffee on someone. Oh, in the one that I did with Tess, I had to pour a bottle of alcohol on her, which was actually just water and it was food coloring. I think they were going to do coffee, but then it would be like too sticky. But yeah, I did that. But there are times when usually it's the male romantic lead will stand up for the female romantic lead and give me a taste of my own medicine. And so there was one where I then had water poured on me or fake alcohol and spray painted and everything. So I would say it's less often, but I still do need to be prepared. And usually I'll look at the call sheet the night before of okay, what scenes are we filming? Am I usually wardrobe is pretty good about providing me with things and robes and whatever, but it's like you always kind of want to be prepared. And I'm not as seasoned as Tess, so I don't have an apocalypse bag yet. I just have my regular bag, and like maybe I was smart and thought ahead and put something in there. So
Yeah, and you've already talked a little bit about some of these names of vertical films. They come up with some crazy names. What are some of the other ones that you've been in? Tell me some titles of these things.
okay, the worst one and I was on. It was pretty bad when with the original title. I forget what it was, but then somehow they made it worse with the final release, and it was My Gangster Baby Daddy Pampers Me to Paradise. Yeah, naturally. So that was the worst one. How to Tame a Silver Fox, Fated to the Alpha. Those are pretty tame. Oh, Fake Dating My Rich Nemesis. That just came out. I like that title. It's cute. I haven't been in any of those ones that are like, he's my sperm bank or weird ones like that. But yeah, the titles are just totally insane. But it's clickbait. It's clickbait. So it's like, oh, what is that? Oh, I don't know if I want to click on it. Do I want to? Okay, let's see what happens. And I honestly think with a lot of those, I mean, there are fans out there who really just don't like certain pieces of content and they'll be very vocal about it. But I do think it's almost like the worst name gets the most views. Not always, because Fake Dating My Rich Nemesis, Faded to the Alpha, How to Tame a Silver Fox, definitely not the worst names. And they do very well. But it's always a gamble.
Yeah, there's some crazy names. When I was talking to Tess, we talked about how it could be a whole game of, is this a vertical film or is this a pornography based on the names that they come up with? I think the one that she had just finished was something like, I'm a secret hooker and blah, something like that.
Oh, yeah. What was it? Like Virgin Stripper and a hockey star? I don't know.
Hey, that's it. I think that's it exactly. I think that is it exactly. Yeah. So crazy names, but they do get the clicks, just like you mentioned. I guess what is it like in your world where I almost see this as, people that would be really good at these vertical films are people that are probably really good at being on stage, whether it's, Broadway plays like that, just because you got to be extra outlandish in a play and you've got to be pretty outlandish in these vertical films. What was that like in your world? I don't know, how much experience you had before you got into this, where it's just kind of natural now that that's how you act, or was it kind of a strange thing to have to be so dramatic about so many kind of silly things, and then because of vertical the way they are, you've got to kind of say the same thing over and over to keep getting them back because every episode's only a minute or two long.
Yeah. So I would say that my tendency as an actor is a very still film actor who's very open to listening, pretty self contained. but I can also have those dramatic moments. And so when I was doing verticals and when I talked to my agent a couple of years ago about doing soap operas, it was to have that experience of doing more outlandish things and to be loud and get myself to attend, because Stacey Marie Keba, she is not that in real life. I'm very quiet. And so sometimes with my auditions, I will do a beautiful take and then I'll be like, okay, but that wasn't vertical acting. That would be great if I was auditioning for Taylor Sheridan or, something else, but that is not vertical acting. So then I'll be like, okay, I'll go back and I'll do an extra 10, honestly, not even 10. I'll do a 12 or a 14. So that way, because I'm quiet, it'll like be good. I'll hit a nice level. So like my 14 might be Tess's 10 or something. And so it really is about pushing myself. And sometimes when I get a script that is fully comedy, I know this is a comedy and it's ridiculous. It's really easy for me to hit those high levels because it's absurd. It's ridiculous. But then when you get these verticals where it's a drama, but it is also absurd and ridiculous, that's when I'm like, so much of it is not judging the material, even though I want to. And it's like, okay, how can I get myself there in a way that makes sense for me to play this really dramatic role but hit those high levels? So it's just different. And I forget, what was your other question of that? Oh, of saying the same thing over and over again. Sometimes that's really hard as an actor who's learning dialogue, because it's like, wait, why am I saying this over and over again in such a short period of time that it's like, okay, I don't know if you remember taking tests like with Scantrons, but I remember this is a good way to relate it. So if you would fill in the bubble and you would do like A, B, 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 D, 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 you're like, when was the last time I like circled C or filled in that bubble? And so then you'll start second guessing yourself. And sometimes when all of this dialogue is the same, I'll start getting in my head like, did I skip dialogue? Am I saying the same thing? Like, just get to the point. It's easier for me to say, but that's why they do it, is to to draw the audience in no matter where they pick up. It's like to remind them. But as an actor, it's so frustrating because like my brain, I'll be acting, but then it'll start short circuiting because you're literally saying the same line 10 times over. And it's, for me, it's always an insult. I'm always insulting someone.
You got to come up with just slightly different inflections of being mean to people, which has to be interesting.
It is really fun because I just get to be so ridiculous. Like I got to destroy artwork in one scene. Yeah, stand up on a table and read a diary and push girls into a pool and, seduce men and get them to break up with their fiance, like stuff like that. And it's definitely content that my family, I will refuse for them to watch. They'll be like, "Can we watch it?" I'll be like, "Nope, nope, sorry, you can't."
Family doesn't watch your vertical films.
There's no way. I mean, if I I moved in with my aunt and uncle this past year because I was engaged and it ended horribly. I was like, "You're giving me wrinkles. I need to break off this engagement." But my aunt was like, "Stacey, let's just have a girls' night and watch." Oh my gosh, I'm blanking on the name of the film, but it was the iconic "I'll Have What She's Having"
Oh man,
movie.
I don't know
Oh my God, it's such an iconic romance movie.
who's
It's
in
the
it.
But I was watching this scene with my aunt and I had never seen it before. And she didn't brace me that this girl is going to have this fake orgasm in a diner and it's going to be really loud. And like, I was like, I was dying. I was melting into my cushion. I was like, how I can't watch this with you here. Like, even though I'm a grown adult and, I was engaged and like, I'm an adult. I don't want you to think of me that way. And so all of the projects that I do, I'm always the one that, I mean, in the last project I did, it was like one of the very first opening scenes, and I was like, you can't watch this, and this is a high school drama, and like, I've had certain things end up on the internet of there's no nudity in these, you're not allowed to, but like, um, there will be like fake porn sites where it'll be like Stacey Marie Keba porn, and I'll be like, no, that's not me. And then it'll be like some deep fake thing, and not even with me. It's just like clickbait or whatever. But I'm like, I guess these things really could end up there, even though everything's covered. But it's like, I'm always doing simulated sex stuff, or, it's alluded that way, or the things that just come out of my mouth. I'm like, and I remember I wrote a book, and they, since you're not allowed to show certain things in these verticals, they wanted me to adapt it into a book where I could elaborate, because that is, moms or ladies or whoever wants to read these before bedtime can have, the fantasy. And I told my family, don't read the book. Like, if you want to support me, you can buy it off Amazon Kindle for $4.99, but don't read it. It's a romance book, and it's explicit and it's vulgar. Please don't read it. They didn't listen to me. And then my dad calls me. He's like, I bought your book, and I figured out how to work my Kindle. And then there's like a really long pause, and then you're like, and I was like, Dad, I told you. And he's like, I Steve's right. I was like, I don't know how much clearer I can be. And I'm like, I'm a grown adult, but please, I don't want you to see me that way, please. And so, yeah. And even the other night we were watching the Universal film, and my uncle was like, okay, so we're watching the Universal film, not one of your verticals. And I was like, I told you, you will never watch one of my verticals. I will never show it to you, ever. If you watch it, it's on your own accord. Do not tell me that you watched it. Please. I will go out into traffic and beg for a car to hit me. Like, please don't.
I understand that, but I also hate that you don't feel like that they can watch them and support you. I feel like that doesn't sound like any fun either, but I get what you're saying for sure. I want to be, I guess, respectful of your time. Are you still all right?
Yeah, I'm still okay. Are you still okay? I'm
I
sorry I
am.
blabbered so much.
Oh no, that's perfectly fine. I want to you talked about all these crazy lines and the insults. Do you remember any that just stuck to your head that's like, dang, that is, whether it just cuts somebody really good, or do you remember any lines that you particularly like that you've said or that you've said 75 times?
Oh, okay. So there was one in How to Tame a Silver Fox, and I'm up on a table reading a diary, and Dad's friend Chris is a DILF. That means a dad I'd like to fuck. Harper, you really fantasize about your dad's best friend? That is so nasty. That just really sticks out because I don't know why, but it was just like, I think it was just the level of fake like concern that I had to have, like, oh my God, like I really care about you. That's in front of like a whole party of like 30 people, because it was such a public insult in a way that was just like, it was so ridiculous.
I like that you mentioned this How to Tame a Silver Fox, because that is the one I think that you were in with Tess, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Let's get to that second game, and then we're going to move into kind of the outside of vertical, and then I do want to touch on your book. Let's talk about that second one. You already heard the names of all of them. So what's the last one we're going to play? Is it podcast realities, or is it rapid fire, generally no follow up?
Rapid fire, generally no follow up.
All right. This is a segment that I ask guests a series of 8 questions that I have my own strong opinions on. I try, sometimes unsuccessfully, not to have much of a follow-up about them. So are you ready for it?
Yes, I am.
All right. You're in a hurry. What's your go-to fast food, and what's the order?
McDonald's, I'll get a plain double cheeseburger with French fries. And sometimes I'll get 2 double cheeseburgers. And it's a large French fry, by the way.
I like it. You only have $3. What are you spending it on?
Oh, man, this is not rapid fire. I'm going to say gum.
Gum. I like it. Dogs or cats?
Cats.
Where's one place that you've never visited that you wish you could?
London.
London. Socks with sandals. Is that acceptable or no?
Ew, no.
All right.
I had a visceral reaction. Ugh.
That would be my visceral reaction too. What's your most used app on your phone?
Instagram.
Let's talk about music. What's one song that is a banger that just gets you really pumped up?
Mobile by Avril Lavigne. It's not
I like
necessarily a pump up song, but like I fucking jam to it.
I like it. What was it? I heard Avril Lavigne, but what was the song?
Mobile.
Mobile. I
Yeah.
don't know if I know that song.
I didn't know it until a couple of months ago, and now I can't stop listening to it.
I like it. Flip side, what's a song that comes on that just immediately makes you want to scoff and turn it off?
I would say Californication by Red Hot Chili Peppers, just because I listened to it so much as a kid. Because my mom loves Red Hot Chili Peppers. I mean, so do I, but like I can't listen to that song anymore.
I get it. What's one thing that you have that you really should throw away?
A bunch of like used tissues in my purse. They're not even used. They're just like, every time I leave the house, like I'll be like, I don't know if I need to blow my nose. Let me just like grab a tissue or like a piece of toilet paper, and I'll never use them. But then there's just like tissues in my purse that are all crumpled and gross, and I'm gonna throw that out. That's like TMI. Sorry.
That's interesting. And I'm gonna follow up with two of them. So last weekend, I went to a professional football game. I went to a Colts game. I'm in Indiana, and they had a toddler race, and they had fun facts about all the toddlers. And one of them, I don't remember his name. Let's just say it was like Sawyer. It was something like that. He was 3 years old, and his fun fact was, after he uses a tissue, he likes to save it in his pocket or put it back in the box. So you and Sawyer, I guess, have something in common.
Oh my God, that makes me think about when I was little. My parents would always buy pretzel rods, and I would get them, and I would suck off all the salt, and then I would put them back in the box, and I would not tell my parents, and then they would reach in to go get a pretzel rod, and they'd be like, what is this damp? It was disgusting. So yeah, we have a lot in common, Sawyer and I.
Well, I don't know. I'm gonna leave that one behind. You and Sawyer can work out your interestingness. And here the last one that I'll comment on is, I guess this is the biggest insult that I'm going to give you in this interview, and that is, you agree with me, but I really thought Stacey looks like somebody that might be a socks and sandals girl.
Wow. Okay. Oh, we need to. You were wondering if I was actually a nice person. I am going to like.
No, I'm just
kidding. No, I'm a sneakers girl. Any type of sandals or anything with heels or anything, I'll probably eat shit in. The amount of times I would see my life flash before my eyes and flip-flops or something. I don't know. And on the one I was on with Tess, I was in a pair of stiletto high heels, and I fell down a staircase. And I had to decide, am I going to catch myself on the wall or am I going to cover up my boobs, because I was in a very revealing dress. And I was like, anyway, that's off topic, but I'm not a socks and sandals girl.
That's a good thing. That's not a bad thing. I have strong opinions against that, so I'm happy to hear that for sure. Let's move back into kind of wrapping up the vertical space. And you've talked about kind of the nature of them being very dramatic and having some, scenes that frankly you don't want your family to see. They're very sensationalized, and they've got some crazy stuff going on. So that's one criticism some people have about them, but it's not a huge one, because there's a huge market of people that just like that kind of stuff.
Yeah, honestly, I like watching that kind of stuff. I'm like, oh, let me see some romance. Like, it's not porn, but I'm like, and it tastefully adds to the story. And it's like Sabrina Carpenter. Like, she always wears like cute little outfits. And it's like, I want to see what you're wearing. And it's like, oh, what's that girl in the vertical wearing? Like, and different things. I like it. I just don't want my parents' family to watch me like that.
That's understandable. So, I mean, that's one thing that people that don't like that kind of stuff may have of a criticism, but the one that sticks out the most, and when I was researching about verticals for your interview and for past ones, is just that kind of the structure of being able to watch them sometimes is a little interesting. And sometimes, the word that comes up is sometimes a little predatory, as far as people having to spend so much money to finish some of these films. So do you see that that's kind of moving away from that? Because obviously it's a different world where these mainstream films, they whether it's product placement or whether it's, all these other things, they've got ways to make money. Vertical makes money by they either can insert ads or they can charge you, a monthly subscription to watch them. So where's that happy medium where, people can make their money, but it doesn't cost somebody $80 to watch a 75-minute film that really is just saying the same thing over and over.
Yeah, I really sympathize with all of the viewers. I mean, listen, like, I'm going to give you a very different answer than what Tess gave. As a supporting actress, my rate is very different from Tess's, and as well as male leads. There's a big discrepancy with payment and stuff. I'm trying to pay my rent. I have not watched verticals I've been in because I couldn't afford to pay them. Like, I literally just had my Netflix subscription being like, oh, like, we need to retry your payment method. And I'm like, yeah, you do. Have you seen my checking account? So I really sympathize with how expensive these verticals are. I love Tubi. I wish they had like a Tubi version of verticals, which honestly, when I have watched my own work, I will find a nice way around it. And I'm not afraid to say that. I'm sorry. But these companies make so much money, and I'm not saying ethically it's right or whatever, but I do think, I mean, Tess mentioned, like, if you're trying to do subscribe to Netflix, Hulu, Max, all the things, it's way too much money. And there are new apps every single week, every single month that are popping up with these verticals. And you can't keep up. It's impossible. And so I think they do need to adjust their payment methods and how much things cost, because fans do want to watch and they do want to support. And I also understand the amount of times when I've had a project come out, like, I will be diligently on the app, like, doing my free check-in every single day just to get coins so I can unlock an episode. But yeah, I also watch the ads and I can't stand it. And half the times I just give up. I'm like, oh, that's unfortunate. And I act in these. So I can imagine there are some amazing fans that, like, I have this one sweet girl in India. I just had my first fan page open up, and it's a very sweet girl in India, and it's like she watches all the ads. Like, that is, teenagers, kids watch all the ads, and unless they take their parents' credit card and charge an arm and a leg. But yeah, or sometimes I'll just scour TikTok and I'll be like, how to Tame a Silver Fox episode 43, and see if someone put it up there. So yeah, I really sympathize. It's really expensive.
Yeah, well, that's a totally different perspective. And yeah, I understand that for sure. And Tubi's great. If you Pluto, I hope you got Pluto as well.
You know what? It's on the TV. I've never used it. I need to look it up.
You've got to use Pluto. They've you can watch back to back to back to back to back episodes of Cops or Dog the Bounty Hunter or Andy Griffith or the Game Show Network. It's just, I mean,
I love it.
it's a
I love
cool,
TV
and
like
it's all
that.
free. It's all free for sure. So I recommend that. Let's kind of wrap up the vertical world and talk about just we've already talked about how you played a villain and you'd love to not have to do that. I guess at this point that you're at now, do you feel like you're early enough? Let's talk about the villain, and then also let's talk about the world of vertical versus horizontal. So, do you feel like you're early enough in your career that you're not super worried about? Man, I'm gonna get pigeonholed into verticals, and I'm gonna get pigeonholed into being a villain. Is that something you worry about at all yet, or is it something that you're like, hey, there's a lot of one, there's a lot of acting left to do in life, and two, whatever's paying the bills, frankly.
Yeah. So right now I'm at a point where it's like, if someone wants to offer me something, whether or not I have to audition or not, I'm grateful and I will take the job. I'm not turning down work at this point unless it's something really that I find inappropriate. And I think I'm not worried about the outside horizontal world pigeonholing me, because I'm so new to that industry and there are so many wonderful, beautiful opportunities. And I do think, these are just additional skills and that I'm learning and being able to bring to the table. And if I can build up my following and, experience and everything, then that's amazing. And that will translate into the horizontal world, at least in my brain, because producers, any investors, they want to see you have a nice social media following and you interact well with fans and you have set experience. And so in a way, I view verticals as no different than student films, webisodes, all of those things. And in terms of being pigeonholed, the big auditions that I have gotten in the horizontal world, no one has pigeonholed me as a bitch. Like, I'm always getting a nice variety of auditions, which I appreciate. In the vertical world, yeah, I do worry that I am a bitch in their eyes, especially with Real Short. And so because they've hired me the most, they see me as a bitch. I'm probably going to be a bitch for them, even though I just got new headshots and I'm excited to show them. But really, it's kind of like, even though the casting director might see me as like, you know, a well-rounded human being, it's the clients and the investors, the producers, the ones that put the money behind it, they get the final say. And also there is something, it's not always true, but there is something to be said about girls with brunette hair versus blonde hair. So blondes usually are, I mean, Tess has dark hair, but in a lot of scenarios, it's like the blonde haired girl is the sweet girl, romantic lead, young, 18, male fantasy type of thing. Brunette, a little older, more evil villain. But it's not always the case. So I did a project with Drama Box, and I really loved working with them. And they actually just, after my latest project came out, I played a mean girl in that, but they were like, hey, we have this romantic lead role who's actually a badass and like is a little older, like 25, not an 18-year-old girl. And we would really love for you to take for it. And I was like, that is perfect. So I'm like, please cast me as that. But yeah, so I think I'm looking for new opportunities with other production companies who don't know me yet. That's the biggest thing. And reworking my marketing material so I'm not pigeonholed. So that was a very long-winded answer, but yeah.
Well, best of luck with that opportunity for sure. I want you to tell us about the novel that you've written. I guess as much as you want, and but with the caveat that I hope that mom, dad, aunt, and uncle can listen to this episode. So don't tell us too much that you don't want them to hear.
Yes. Well, we should put like a ticker, like a little beep every time I say the B word. Like, I need to know how many times I said it
Oh gosh.
because they'll be like, Stacey, you curse a lot. And I'm sorry about that. But the the book is such a wonderful, cute little romance. It's called Break Up Bet with My Billionaire Ex, and it's about two chefs who, they're young, they're trying to start a restaurant together, they have these big dreams, and then the female lead gets a cancer diagnosis, and she decides her boyfriend at the time is on a cooking competition show, and she has a very grave diagnosis. You know, it stretches reality because if most people got that diagnosis, they would pass away, which was kind of hard to write because I was like, this isn't real. Like, you know, but it's fiction. But anyway, they break up, and it's a second chance romance of their paths crossing again in the future, and all the misunderstandings and the sacrifice for love and wanting the best for the other person. And it's really beautiful. I feel so grateful that I got the opportunity to adapt that script into a book. Usually when you hear about adaptations, it's usually from a book into a movie script. So it was really fun to sort of take that and turn it on its head. And I love details. I think I would really struggle as a screenwriter because I would want to stick all the details in. So I had a lot of fun, and it was a very quick turnaround. I had 4.5 weeks to write this, and obviously they gave the script, and then I had to keep certain things the way they were. But then I got to add a lot of additional scenes, add the little bit more spicier romance money parts that, you know, people, if you're gonna buy the book, you want to read. But then I also got to add in other fun additional scenes and explain their world more, build it more, build their internal thoughts. And it was just such a blast. And it's a nice little book. And I'm grateful that that is the first book that I published. I've always wanted to publish books, and I kind of stepped away from it thinking I couldn't make it as a career. And then this year, this beautiful opportunity arose, and I was like, this is amazing, and I can do this. So But yeah, it's a very cute, just sweet romance book. Now, if I didn't add in certain scenes, then I would tell my family to go read it.
That's what I was going to say. Something about it made your dad uncomfortable. So I assume they're not, side hugs and hand holding.
Right, right. And especially you're trying to hook people very quickly in the free previews that you get on Kindle, like the first whatever pages. So I almost want to just tell my family, sure, you can buy it, but just like kind of like glance quick, then you can start reading at page 12 or something. So, but that's not the whole book. It's a small fraction. I just get so embarrassed and I blush. I want my family to think of me as the sweet little 5-year-old that I once
Yeah,
was.
I gotcha. Well, now that you've been able to do both, what do you find yourself enjoying more? Do you like the acting? Do you like the writing? Is it something that you're hoping that you can always blend the two together, or what's that look like?
Yeah, I really want to blend the two together. And, this whole vertical world isn't perfect in terms of everything. It is a great launching pad. And my goal has always been, well, it was writing first and then acting and seeing how I could blend them together. And that's exactly what this has given me. And I would love to write my own book. I mean, I've already written my own book, but to actually get it published and turned into a movie one day, that would be amazing. And so I'm always looking for ways to blend the two together. And this is just, the first kind of step in the right direction. And it's just really lovely. I'm enjoying it so much. And there's something so nice. I'm an introvert at heart. And so there's something that I love about being in my room with the lights off at my computer with a great cup of coffee and some music and writing. And that's amazing. And my own thoughts. And then there's something also about I need to go interact with people and I still want to tell stories and I want to have a more collaborative experience and sit in the hair and makeup chair and have someone like pamper me and turn me into a whole different character. That's also really fun. And I think there's a good balance. Like if I'm acting in a big project, I'm not going to take on a writing assignment. I won't have time. I can't do both at the same time. But kind of space them out and it's beautiful.
I love it. And I look forward to seeing what the future holds for you. How can people follow along with you and check out all the work that you're doing, check out this book and future ones?
Sure. So I'm most active on Instagram. My handle is at Stacey, Stacey, Marie Keba. And I post on there. And then in my bio, there's a link and it has all of my shows that I've been in, the link to my book. And I want to start posting on TikTok, like, day in my life type of things. I haven't started doing that yet, but if I do that in the future, I'll link it on Instagram. So just follow me on Instagram. That is where I'm most active. And I love responding to DMs and everything and comments. And I just appreciate any support I can get. It's really lovely. I'm so grateful to be doing this. And yeah, I'm so grateful. And I'm so grateful you reached out and I couldn't be more thrilled. This has been so fun.
I'm glad you had a good time. I'm grateful that you decided to join me. Thank you so much, Stacey.
Of course. Well, thank you.
So that was Stacey Marie Keba. Absolute pleasure speaking with her. Had a great time just learning more about vertical films. I've spoken with somebody in that world before, but there's still a ton to learn and a ton to learn about, being a villain. I think that great to learn from Stacey, somebody who is so nice in real life. Just kind of shows how great of an actress that she is, that she's able to act not so nice. But yeah, I really, really appreciate her time. Urge you to go check out all of the films that she's in. We talked about how sometimes it's hard to find them given, the cost associated. Check them out any way that you can. Go check out that book that she's written. All the links to her will be in the show notes. We've already talked again since our chat just briefly about, hey, we need to reconnect when she's got some more films under her belt, and I have no doubt that we'll be talking relatively soon, and she'll be a leading lady in this world, or even in the world of horizontal movies as they're distinguished. But absolute pleasure speaking with Stacey. Thanks so much for your time. This is your first time listening, or you haven't already, go follow along on Instagram and on TikTok. Go follow along with Stacey as well. Like I said, the links to all her stuff will be in the show notes. This podcast, Instagram, and TikTok is Not Enough Podcast. Not Enough with Jackson Enough on Facebook. Go leave a 5-star rating on Apple and on Spotify. Leave a written review on Apple. Helps a ton. But if nothing else, catch us next time. Take it away, Chris.
This has been Not in a Huff with Jackson Huff. Thank you for listening. Be sure to join us next time, where we will interview another amazing guest who is sure to make you laugh or make you think. Or, hey, maybe even both. But until then, keep being awesome.